Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. Today we're here once again with the Empire. We're going to be taking on the foul forces of Chaos, so we're definitely in for a fun and thematic battle today. As you can see from the Emperor, we've got Karl, Franz for my lord here. He's got the Reichland Runefang, Galmiraz, Stand Your Ground, and Foe Seeker. Foe Seeker just makes him faster. Stand Your Ground and Reichland Runefang both give leadership, and one gives melee attack, the other gives melee defense. Reichland Runefang obviously being the melee attack. And together they could juice up a unit like the Royal Altar of Griffites, which you can see standing behind Franz, very proud. Can just juice them up to insane combat stats. He's also got Galmiraz to give himself just crazy AP and a plus 16 bonus versus large. In terms of the rest of the army, we've also got the Zintler's Reichsguard. Infantry line is going to be a mess of state troops. We've got 4 spearmen, 2 swordsmen, one of which is the Sigmar's sons, 2 units of Reichsguard. Obviously, the Zintler's Reichsguard we already went over. And we've got 1 unit of Pistoliers and 3 units of Outriders. We'll go ahead and pause briefly here, as I do want to go over some tactics. But first, my opponent's army, a couple of Chaos Poison Warhounds. We've got Dragon Ogres. Infantry is going to be 3 Chaos Marauders, 3 Chaos Warriors with great weapons, 2 Halberds, and 2 Forsaken with Aspiring Champions. And we've also got Big Bird. Big Bird's spell loadout's going to be Final Transmutation and Transmutation of Lead with the Metal Shifting Lore attribute and Stand or Die. So we're going to quickly talk about this in slow motion as it unfolds here. So the reason I've got Franz and the Reichsguard hidden in the forest is that we're going to try and pull a little bit of an ambush here in order to win mobility advantage, so that then these Outriders are able to fire in unopposed. So we've got this unit of Pistoliers more or less as bait, and my opponent, the idea was that we were going to fall back along this line and then spring the Reichsguard out first, and if there was something heavier, then we spring Franz and the Royal Altar of Griffites out after. So let's go ahead and see how it goes here. My opponent has taken the bait so far, so these Pistoliers, you can see them firing with their dual-wielding pistols, looking very, very cool, and they're going to fall back slightly through the woods here, and here come the Zintler's Reichsguard. And I mean, obviously the Zintler's Reichsguard will pound down the Hounds, but the Dragon Ogres are going to be more than a match for them, so it makes this bait look all that more convincing. And then when Franz and his goon squad emerge from the trees over there, it's you know, it's going to be a bad day for the Dragon Ogres. We're going to go ahead and pop all the buffs here, so you can see these Royal Altar Griffites in the 60s in their melee attack and defense, and Franz himself with crazy 600 weapon strength and a bonus versus large, so they're going to be just downing these Rat Ogres. Or sorry, Rat Ogres, Dragon Ogres, I always make that mistake. There's all sorts of Ogres. Just wait for the Ogre Kingdoms, then we'll have all the Ogres. But anyway, you can see Franz getting in here, and you know, they're definitely going to be laying the smackdown, but there are some Forsaken and Halberds nearby. Big Bird himself is going to be casting a Final Transmutation. We're just barely going to get barely outside of the area of effect of that with Franz and the Royal Altar Griffites, but it does hit those Zintler's Reichsguard, my healer, and a lot of these other units here. Actually, I'm not sure if it did hit the healer. He may have been just outside there, but meanwhile, we're just falling back with these state troops. No reason for me to take this engagement head on with this very scary Chaos Infantry force, so we're just kind of pivoting around the woods here where this mobile engagement is taking place. It's very pitched at this moment. We've got some Halberds and Forsaken in here for support, so we're going to beat it with the retreat back here pretty soon. Meanwhile, the Outriders are just going to be firing in and then continuously falling back, and then eventually, once all the forces are fixed here, we'll try and turn the corner. But for now, Franz and his allies are in some pretty deep trouble here, so the Pistoliers, having done their job of being bait and allowing us to finish off those Dragon Ogres pretty much unopposed, they're now going to do a suicidal charge here into these Forsaken and Halberds, and Big Bird himself, of course. Looks like one Zintler's Reichsguard having a hard time getting out of there. Oh man, Big Bird just smacked him down. But anyway, fun stuff. The mainline engagement is getting underway proper now. You can see state troops. These guys are definitely going to get taken down by Chaos Warriors, but the Outriders do have a very commanding flank position to be able to fire in with their armor-piercing missiles here, and you can see these Chaos Warriors who have no missile block chance with the great weapons, and the Halberds are going to be having a pretty bad time. They're already starting to lose unit models, and overall, you know, hopefully these state troops can hold long enough at the very least. At this point, you know, we beat the retreat, got back to these Chaos Warriors with Franz, and managed to not quite get a terror out here like I was wanting, so I was just waiting for Big Bird to try and overextend. He tries to get on my caster here, which is generally well advised, but Big Bird's so far away from his support that we go ahead and collapse with the Royal Altar of Griffites and Franz himself. We're going to be doing a lot of damage here. You can see Big Bird's very rapidly taking the damage, especially from the Royal Altar of Griffites. And yeah, overall, very, very good for me. These Outriders are starting to turn the corner a little bit, and now they have pretty much the perfect firing line to get in on these Forsaken and other troops here, firing directly from the rear. So they just, you know, pretty much every shot's going to connect there. But at this point, my opponent does drop a Transmutation of Lead, which is going to be pretty nice. Going to debuff a lot of the units in here, but thankfully I have the Raglan Runefang active to help mitigate that. But you can see how Franz here is being interrupted by these unit models. He's not able to actually get attacks. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull away with the Royal Altar of Griffites. The Hounds had got on my caster here, so we're going to go ahead and charge them in. And this is going to allow Karl Franz to do what he do and battle it out with this big nasty Chaos Demon here. And yeah, Franz with all his buffs is going to be more than a match for Big Bird. Maybe if Big Bird has an Overcast, Plague of Rust, he could do something to Franz, but you can see Big Bird very wisely beating it through his own troops. This is exactly what he should do. He's got some Halberds and Forsaken here. So I'm going to pull away with Franz and just try and get back to safety. Meanwhile, the Royal Altar of Griffites did collapse here and actually get a proper tear route with at least some of the Marauders. Aspiring Champion still holding out, but a lot of the other units have been routed, so we're going to set the state troops to chase him down and kick him in the back of the neck, apparently. But yeah, meanwhile, the Outriders still just firing in unopposed. We've got a few more targets here, so we're going to go ahead and move to kind of interrupt a lot of these routing units. Meanwhile, you can see the balance powers tilting pretty heavily in my favor at this point. We've pretty well won the battle. We've just got to administer the finishing blow here to Big Bird. It looks like Franz is on station to do the job, so we'll watch the Emperor as he strikes down this Demon of Tzeentch here. Very, very fun stuff. Super fun thematic battle. Well played, my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that battle. You know, it's been a pretty long day for me. I had a very long day at work, and then I played a few battles on ladder tonight where I just completely threw it away within like the first 3 minutes of the battle, which was pretty heartbreaking. You know, it happens sometimes. We all have our days, and I know a lot of you guys think I'm this really great player, and I mean, I'm a pretty decent player. Don't get me wrong. I have a chance against even some of the best players in the world, but that doesn't mean that you can't beat me as well, especially if I'm having a bad day. But overall, this was a very fun battle, a great battle to lift my spirits, so thank you to Ragnar for providing that for me. In terms of the army breakdown here, we've got 86 kills with these Reichsguards, 79 for the Zindler's Reichsguard, so both of them performed relatively well. I mean, some of those kills, you know, no chevrons, so they're probably mostly against like marauders and stuff, but still helping to clear things out and at least hold the line. Definitely the state troops help hold the line as well, and then obviously Franz and his goon squad there just taking down those dragon ogres. Almost said rat ogres there. Those dragon ogres pretty much unopposed, and yeah, man, just an absolute boss there, Karl Franz. And the Royal Altar of Griffites, obviously the healing from the Jade Wizard was very key there. I didn't actually catch any of it, but I was pretty much just continuously spamming the regrowth on these Royal Altar of Griffites, and then Earthblood on the entire, you know, pocket of both of them whenever I could. And overall, it worked out pretty well. You can see from my opponent's infantry force, some of them managed to get quite a few kills. 69 and an XP Chevron. These ones must have got a hold of these Reichsguard or something, but overall, losing that mobility engagement early on meant that my Outriders were pretty much free to fire in unopposed, and that definitely won me the infantry engagement, and then Franz winning the heroic battle with the Royal Altar of Griffites, you know, provided the other key there. So in terms of this particular matchup, it's a pretty interesting one. You know, Big Bird taking Final Transmutation and Transmutation of Lead. It's interesting. You know, let's go ahead and take a look at the spell costs here. You know, Big Bird in patches past, if you look in the dark ages of my channel, back in Total Warhammer 1, I used to take Big Bird with Plague of Rust and some other spells, but you know, he's definitely great in this matchup in that he's basically going to be immune to certain things. He's very resistant to missiles in the first place, and I mean, obviously the Empire has access to handgunners and so on. The Silver Bullets in particular and the Hammer of Witches both are magic missile units. You can see they have this little magical symbol by their ammunition, means they have magic damage, and Big Bird has both magic and missile resistance, so in total that's 85%, and I mean, both of them apply in this situation, so you know, you would get mitigation pretty much completely there. So it makes him a very good choice in that he's very hard to gun down. He's fast, he can troll around, he has a very nice spell selection too. I mean, a lot of people don't like the Lord of Metal, but Final Transmutation kind of comes and goes as Creative Assembly nerfs it and buffs it. Transmutation of Lead, honestly, for how expensive this, I mean, it's 11 Winds of Magic. It's not super cheap, but it's not super expensive. I mean, I'm just not too crazy about it. It doesn't do the most. Minus 26 melee attack is pretty good, and it does have a very large area of effect. But typically against the Empire, I think Plague of Rust is a must, especially if you're going to run with metal shifting and try and get the most value out of it that you can. Plague of Rust is dirt cheap. It's 4 Winds of Magic, or 6 if you overcast it, which doubles its effectiveness. So other than the miscast chance, I would say pretty much always overcast it. And, I mean, Big Bird himself has 60 attack. He's got pretty decent weapon strength, not the best AP values, but if you can hit another heroic unit with an overcast Plague of Rust and then jump him with Big Bird, he can definitely hang with a lot of them. I mean, obviously some, especially with the bonus versus large, are going to put him to Pound Town real quick, but, you know, somebody like Boris Todbringer, for example, if you hit him with this overcast Plague of Rust, maybe you have some hounds nearby for support, he can definitely hang around. And Searing Doom and Gehenna's Golden Hounds, I'm not too big on Gehenna's Golden Hounds, which is very hard to say apparently, but Searing Doom is very good against state troops, in particular like grouped up handgunners or you know, spearmen or swordsmen, whatever, can clear out chaff units real quick, and it's also relatively cheap at 6 Winds of Magic. I would never say overcast it, but if you really want to get the best value out of metal shifting, I would say you can spam these 2 spells. Transmutation of Lead is a pretty decent one as well. I mean, it depends. Final Transmutation is one of those things that if you're going to go for it, and you're going to try and overcast it and just go for a full gooning, you know, I would almost say just bring nothing else and just, you know, strip him down completely to save on cost, and even strip off metal shifting as well, just to make him as cheap as possible to get that Final Transmutation, because it's incredibly expensive if you overcast it. It's a full 28 Winds of Magic, which is basically your whole Winds of Magic, or a full Winds of Magic pool, not your whole Winds of Magic pool per se, but yeah, very, very expensive in terms of the Winds of Magic. So typically if I'm running Final Transmutation, I'll run just that. But if I'm running, you know, some of these other spells, you know, I might run Final Transmutation, Plague of Rust, and Searing Doom, for example. If you look in a lot of my old battle replays from Total War Warhammer 1, I would take this combination quite frequently against the Wood Elves and against the Empire, so I think it's a pretty solid spell selection, and especially with how they've buffed metal shifting. It used to be just, I don't even know, something terrible, but it's much better than it used to be, and it's a nice little buff, honestly. 10% weapon damage and armor piercing might not seem like a lot, but I mean, just 10% damage across the board. That's army wide in melee, and considering you're a very melee centric army, it's pretty nice with chaos overall. So let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. What do you like about this matchup? I mean, obviously, this one's pretty thematic, and there's arguments whether Franz is really the most competitive pick here or not. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe, and hit that bell notification button so that every time I upload a video, you will be notified. Thank you very much for watching once again, and we'll see you next time.